Next on the Love You More Show.
I was so scared. I just want to tell you just how scared I was. Not necessarily for like stuff to be lost.
Right.
It was just all about my children. Like I was just so scared. Like I'm like teary-eyed right now just thinking like.
It is scary.
Like even this all the stuff was like, oh my God, like what is this gonna do to my children? Because I believe everybody gonna have a testimony.
A lot of times people have gotten married and they haven't discussed their goals.
Yeah.
Right? They don't have common goals. One person wants to be a saver and an investor.
Mm-hmm.
The other person wants to ball out, go to the mall, shop all the time. Why save? We're going to spend it anyway. People who were initially in your corner, they're just like, call me when it's over. And so you really only have your lawyer.
Yeah.
Maybe a witness or two, but really it gets lonely.
Yeah.
The longer that divorce goes, the lonelier it gets.
Hey family, it is the Love You More Show. I'm your nephew, Willie Moore Jr. Excited about this moment in time because guess what? We have gone over 185,000 subscribers. Come on, fake claps. Come on, fake claps in the building. First of all, I just want to thank my mom for, now I'm just playing. But no, honestly, I'm just excited because it's letting me know, it's an indicator, right? Like a lot of people's growth didn't happen this fast. And I know it's, of course, glory to God, but thank you guys for enjoying the content. Shout out to the Content Factory for making sure that we have the best looking content on the market, and major love to my team and so many great people that is too many to name, but major love to Demetra and the rest of the team. God bless you guys. Family, today, we've been talking about breakups, hang-ups, and then the big D word, pause. Divorce. Okay, let's get that out the way. Let's go get that out the way. Yeah, divorce. Yeah, come on. Yes, Lord, that's what that is. But here goes the thing. Here's the thing. As it pertains to divorce, a lot of times people always toy around with the word. I love what David and Tamala Mann say. They like, man, we took divorce off the table because you have no idea the ebbs and flows and the ups and downs and what it looks like to go through a divorce, right? So many of you all are teeter-tottering on that thing. Like, I want to do this. I want to do that. Baby, this ain't for the faint at heart, okay? If you ain't going upside your head and she ain't going upside your head, listen, tread lightly, okay? Like sometimes some things you think are great, they're not the greatest. I'll tell you, it's one hell of a ride, and I'm not wishing this on my enemy. But I do want to make sure that I inform you correctly. So today, the woman who's going to be hanging out with me today is like literally she's one of my angels, right? She came into my life in 2021 when I, wanted to start this divorce journey, and she became my lawyer. And, we had some ebbs and flows. And then finally at the end, she was my lawyer again. We'll talk all about it. The one and only Tanya Mitchell Graham. For sure. What's happening? How you doing?
Hey, how you doing, Willie?
I've never had it this good in my life. So glad to have you on today.
Thank you so much for having me.
We talked about this.
Oh, we talked about this on the last day in October.
Yeah, the last day in October.
But first, I just want to say thank you for having me. Mm-hmm. And I am so proud of you and your show, and I know what not to call it. I don't want the $100 fine.
Yeah.
And I've seen it from like first episode all the way to now.
Yeah.
And the growth is phenomenal. And I just pray that God continues to bless you.
I appreciate that.
All right.
Indeed. Listen, it is an honor to have you. So the way we do it here on the show, we have an icebreaker and we like to use music.
Okay.
Now, you know a lot about my relationship because I had to tell you all my business, child. Lord have mercy. When you going through a divorce, you got to tell all the business and you can't lie. Okay, you got to tell the truth. Like, tell me the truth. I'm like, okay, well, this is the truth. And so, this is loosely based upon my process in a relationship. And I decided to go to counseling before I went through any of the ending and uncoupling. It kind of went like this. Check this out.
So wifey started counseling, and she thought it would be a good idea for me to come to counseling. Man, don't nobody really want to do this. Because I know she'd been telling this woman all my business. I walk into counseling. Dang! I didn't know her counsel was this fine. She been telling all my business. I walk in. Hey, ladies. Oh, I was at the wrong spot, and I thank you for joining us. Truly my honor. Willie Mo. Nice to meet you. My honor. This is my counselor, April. So nice to meet her. Wifey like, so glad you can make it, darling. It's truly my honor. You look amazing. You do too. Energy in the room a little tense. Wife done told my business. So let's, talk this out. In front of her, damn. I'm like, okay. You ready? I am. Whatever you want me to do, I'm with it. Are you gonna tell the truth? I promise I'm gonna tell the truth. You worth it. Her eyes lit up like a Christmas tree when I told her she was worth it, child.
Time waits for no man. But if I could turn back the hands of time, I would do you better. I just want you to know the love I have for you is like the clockwork. It never stops. This is lag out.
Now I am not a mind reader, but I can tell you're lonely, overlooked. But what's funny is I put a ring on your finger. We both said I do, but we both know the truth. That lately we've been feeling single, cause we don't take the time to love each other right. Preachers say we need communication. Tonight let's speak some love language. Oh, first off, since we said I do, in the sight of God we can do what we do. Second off, we don't need no phone. We don't waste time too long. So let me love you like clockwork. Tick-tock, tick-tock, like clockwork. Tick-tock, tick-tock, steady going like clockwork. Tick-tock, tick-tock, like clockwork. Tick-tock, until the end of time.
The name of the song is Clockwork, available right now. Go download it, quick, go. It's called Clockwork. You can go like this when you playing it, okay? Do that. Yeah, do it. So in the scene, we go to counseling. And
Yes.
the truth is, the words say, lately we've been feeling single because we don't take the time to love each other right. I'm sure that you have come in an office with a male or female and they're going through it.
Mhm.
What are some of the common causes of why people choose to file for divorce?
Lack of communication, of course.
Yeah.
A lot of times people have gotten married and they haven't discussed their goals,
Yeah.
right? They don't have common goals. One person wants to be a saver and an investor.
Mhm.
The other person wants to ball out, go to the mall, shop all the time. Why save? We're going to spend it anyway.
Yeah.
So finances is always a major issue with people who don't have common goals. Now, it's okay if one person handles the bills, right? And make sure the bills are paid and the money's there. But if one person wants to make certain that the bills are on time and the other person doesn't care, that's a problem. Another
Right.
problem will be if somebody doesn't want to work.
Mm.
Like, I represent a lot of men.
Mm.
And so a lot of times men will have an agreement with their wife that they can take X period of time off of work. But they don't expect the child to be like in the 5th grade before she decides to go back to work.
Mm.
And so that's problematic.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times the guys will kind of want their wife to take maybe anywhere from 4 months to a year or a couple of years, but not, at some point they may need some help.
Mhm.
They're like, when are you going back to work? And
Yeah.
she's like, oh, I'm not.
Yeah.
And so it's very hard to force them back to work. Of course, the other thing, of course, is adultery.
Mhm.
But usually adultery doesn't just happen without some of these other things going on first.
Mhm.
Lack of communication. Men are big on respect. And so when we ladies do something that's disrespectful to you or
Mhm.
make you feel less than a man,
Mhm.
sometimes you go seek the praise from some other woman.
Yeah. So
You
how
know?
long have you been in the family law business?
32 years.
32 years.
32 years.
Yeah.
And I know you're just 32 years old.
Come on, I'm gonna take it. Oh, can we keep her? Hallelujah. No, so I got a chance to I didn't know you at the time and didn't even know that I would go through an uncoupling journey. And it was when you were representing like Ludacris or somebody.
I represent quite a few celebrities. I don't ever name drop though.
Yeah, I mean, but they just had you all over the place when
Right.
that was possible. Because that was like, he did what? And then another celebrity, he came out, he was on social media. And he kept
Yes.
saying your name over
My
and
whole
over.
government.
Whole government
I thought he
name,
was gonna
all
give out
three
my Social
names.
Security
He's like
number for a minute.
43768. I was like, no, don't give it. So, I know you get a chance to see a lot of clients, but it seems like it's mostly males. Why do you think males are so drawn to you?
I think that one of the things that I'm really big on is fathers, because it's important and imperative that fathers have a voice in court. And I think that a female attorney can advocate better for a man trying to be a father. There's so many guys who, don't want to accept their responsibilities, maybe are trying to figure out how can they avoid paying child support, but there's a whole different section of good dads,
Mhm.
kind of like you,
Thank
my
you.
brother. I got to tell you that.
Yeah.
That sincerely want to be involved in the child's life.
Mhm.
And I love that. You know, my dad wasn't involved, and I later on found out it wasn't entirely his fault. I'll say it like that.
Wow.
And so it's important when you have a father who wants to be an active dad for the right reason.
Mhm.
Some guys in court want to be active so they can pay less child support.
Yeah.
That wasn't you.
Yeah.
That's not most of my clients. And so for those dads who really want to be actively engaged for the right reasons, they need to champion. I hope to be that.
But listen, I'm gonna tell you what. I just remember like the night before I was having to go, because I'd never been to court, not sitting on nobody's stand. Like I done been to court, you know, criminal court cases for people that I, you know, that you support. And I'm from the neighborhood, so a lot of people make mistakes, you know, whether it's in the streets and whatever. So I would do that, but I never thought that I would be on the other side of this thing, like sitting on somebody's stand, being like interrogated for hours and hours. What's the misconception that people have as it pertains to divorce? Like, are there different types of divorces? Like, what's the easiest way, and then what's the hardest way?
Oh, sure. Well, the easiest way is what you call the uncontested divorce, which is what you called me for.
Yeah.
The uncontested divorce, where you believe you've had a discussion with your spouse and that everything's all worked out.
Yeah.
And we're just going to, you know, put pen to paper, memorialize it, everybody signs. We filed that with the court approximately 31 days or so. We can finalize that divorce. That's called an uncontested divorce. That means you agree on each and every issue, not just the divorce, but how to divide the assets, the debts, who's going to have the kids, what the parenting time is going to be, what the child support is going to be. That's uncontested.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, that don't really be happening as much as I thought it would.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. So when a person comes in and they're so angry and emotional, how does that play into their demise if they're so angry and emotional?
Well, you know what? A lot of the guys really do get mad.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can hurt your case, tell you the truth. Especially if you're a really good dad and you get mad about something and you express that maybe yelling or, you know, I don't too much have any clients who are physically abusive, but you know, you just might make some bad decisions talking about the mom in front of the kids, or vice versa. The mother talking about, you know, the dad in front of the kids. You know, so you got to really control your anger, but it's hard because the divorce is such an emotional ride. So we were talking about the types of divorce. You got the uncontested, which I just talked about, and then you got the contested divorce.
Okay.
That's what you had.
Yeah.
Okay.
And did.
And so did.
And did. 3 years worth.
Hey.
Yeah.
And sometimes a contested divorce can last anywhere from, you know, you have to go through the discovery process where you exchange the documents. We got to see all the financials and stuff. And sometimes the people exchange that stuff. They go to mediation, boom, it's wrapped up. That's not the case sometimes. You know, you go through that. And sometimes people, it's not even about just common sense.
Yeah.
People are emotional. And so you have people who can be a very public success, but they go through this process. And this is emotional. You're not always thinking clearly. You're not thinking rationally. You do get angry. You get upset. You're sorry you stayed in it so long. Some people are like, why won't my spouse take me back? You know, so we go through
How
that
often
process.
do people do that? Have you been going down the road with someone and then they like, well, you got to change your heart. We're going to go and go back after they.
Oh my God. Yes.
Does
they
that
want
happen
to,
often?
They want to reconcile. But when I have a client that wants to reconcile, I'm like, listen, we can't dismiss this divorce though. No, I don't let them do that. I tell them you can try to reconcile for 6 months. Let me see what I can do to kind of get the court to kind of stay it for a little bit, because 9 times out of 10, that reconciliation is not going to work. Whatever brought you to my office the first time, it still exists. Might be exacerbated now that there's a divorce. Yeah. And don't let the parties be celebrities. Oh my God, some of their business might already be on the blogs. And so it's really hard when it gets open like that. Yeah. You know?
You know, I remember so when I came, I just remember like I was just so nervous. I was just like this. Yeah. I was like I'm just nice. I was just like, well, no, we don't have to be mean. How was I? Was I?
Oh my God.
Why you put your face like that? Like,
First of
the
all,
people watching now. Was I a gangster? Come on. I was hard, wasn't I? No tears. Tell them how gangster I was.
well, let me no. You came in very nice.
Yeah.
You came in nice.
Yeah.
And so you know what my nickname is, right?
Yeah.
Pitbull in a skirt.
The pitbull. Yeah.
So you don't get the pitbull
Yeah.
to act like a poodle.
Yeah.
No, you get the pitbull to act like the pitbull. And once they got a few scars, maybe now we can settle.
Yeah.
But you can't just come in and say, I mean, can I tell him how you came in?
Sure.
Real extra kind, real kind. Now he come in all kind. Well, we've already talked and everything's good and we're going to be the best co-parents and we're going to do all this and this is what I'm willing to do. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. That's more than a court would award.
Right.
That's more than a court would do. Why are you coming in like that? And you just like, well, you know, she's the mother of my kids and we're good.
Mm-hmm.
But that didn't work.
Yeah.
And so we had to end up, doing it the way that you have to do it.
Yeah.
Although I will say most of the time when we fight a little bit, we joust a little bit, we do the discovery, we go through a couple of hearings on discovery or whatever. Then we go to mediation. I would say about 70% of those cases settle.
Yeah.
You just happen to be in the 30%.
Yeah, I was in the 30%. God, dog.
More Love You More podcast after this.
Yes, Lord. You know I got to keep it real with you. But what I want you to do is I want to make sure that you share this, you comment, you click like, engage with us. Listen, everybody wants to be celebrated, not just tolerated. Don't just tolerate us, celebrate us by liking, sharing, and commenting. Can't do it without you. That's all you got to do. Just click it. Do that for me.
Love you more.
So here, let me just give you the mindset.
Yeah.
I thought in my head when it came to divorce, I was just like, hey, this is not working. And we both know that this is not working for us.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at my track record. And I try, and to the people on the camera, because I know y'all gonna put a whole lot of comments, especially on something like this when I talk about my situation. And I don't mind it because I'm an open book. I believe it's a testimony, it's gonna help people. So I was just under the assumption, after going to therapy, I realized that I have to be understood and I have to be heard. Like those are my non-negotiables. Because my heart posture ain't never to kill, steal, or destroy.
Right.
So I'm like, my track record says that even like I always took care of my son in our blended family. My track record says, I mean, you've been here, I've taken care of it. Everything's gonna be good. And I just thought that would warrant a different type of response.
Well,
but I know now that divorce brings out a different type of person.
Right. When people are hurt, right, they may act out of character.
Mm-hmm.
And so divorce is probably the biggest hurt some people have ever been through in their lives,
Mm-hmm.
And so some people heal faster than others.
Mm-hmm. And
some people decide it's war. I'm never going to agree because I want you to suffer.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when a man files, when you're the petitioner or the plaintiff, a lot of women don't take too kindly to that.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like almost every man that I have, when he's the plaintiff, the woman fights to the end because how dare you file a divorce against her?
Mm.
How humiliating is that for a woman?
I never thought
He's
about
leaving me,
Mhm.
and look at me. I'm beautiful, I'm this, I'm that, and he's leaving me. So I see it more and more now when the man is the petitioner, we end up having to go to court. Because
Now, you told me that first conversation, well, second conversation, because you was like, this is when I knew that I was in trouble. This is when I knew. KB, this is when I knew. I was like, yeah, I came in with that nice, hey,
big old package.
And she said, and I mean, I got the package laid out. I'm going to write it down. I'm like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to pay this. I'm going to do this and this. She was like, no, we're not going to do all that. Don't send that. It's all good. And then we got off, right when we finna get off. And I think, I was a little long with it. She said, okay. And I was like, the hell do that mean? It's going to be fine. And it just wasn't
okay,
fine.
man. Okay, we'll try it your way.
Okay.
We tried it your
And by
way.
the third time, you was like, are you going to let me do my job?
I did have to. You're a little hard-headed.
Yeah.
You're a little hard-headed because you feel like I'm being kind, I'm being caring, I'm being generous. I prayed about it.
Y'all been out laughing my prayer. The Lord wanted to show up later. He still showed up.
No, he showed up. He
But
showed up. But sometimes the process is necessary. And you know that, not just in divorce, but in
Sometimes
everything.
the process is
The
necessary.
process is that's how you grow up.
Yeah.
And so you needed to grow up in the process, okay?
Yeah.
And so you did.
Yeah.
And so we got through it. And but we had to have a trial.
Yeah.
And that was the hard part. And it's an emotional thing.
Yes.
I mean, you just want it to be over.
Yeah.
But it's a process.
Yeah.
And so you've got to go through the discovery. You've got to try mediation. And we could talk about what a debacle that was if you want to.
Yeah.
We go through that. And then when that doesn't work, then you have to wait for the court to give you a final trial date. And in between that period of time, what happens?
Yes.
A lot of craziness.
A lot of craziness happen. And it's so far out. And all by then, like all of the stuff is like racking up. And I'm just looking at the account like, this makes no sense. Cause I'm, like I'm willing to, like whatever we got to do, let's just figure it out. I think my biggest mistake was in my head, I thought when a person files for divorce, then, if somebody files a divorce on me and they like, I'm done, I'm like, okay, well, that was a clear indication that you done. Go live and move however you choose to move. Maybe it's the pride in me, but I thought that I could continue to just, okay, cool, well, I'm gone. Like after a year or so, I'm gonna go date, I'm gonna go this and another. It was like, no, you can't do that.
You're married till you're divorced in Georgia.
You're married until you divorce. I got that wrong. Let me just say that. Yeah, I got that wrong. Hallelujah. Enjoyable wrong. Hallelujah. Let's get that out there.
But wrong nonetheless.
Yeah, wrong nonetheless.
And it was a subject.
Yeah.
And it's a subject.
Yeah.
Because in Georgia, we're in the Bible Belt.
Yeah.
And so you're married until you're divorced.
Yeah.
And so if that divorce takes 3 years.
Ain't no sowing your royal over in 3 years.
Well.
Hallelujah.
In Jesus' name, you better pray about it.
Like I did in the beginning. So I do want to ask you this, because on the other side of this camera, it was so much I did not know. And I remember going through YouTube. I was like, so how do you deal with the lawyer? Because I was under the assumption, for some strange reason, I thought I was the only case, okay?
Oh,
so if I'm calling my
God.
lawyer, I'm like, why isn't she getting back to me? And then I'm like, well, I'm emailing. So for some reason, I thought I was so special. And I didn't think you were seeing anybody else. Well, so do you get that with a lot of people? They just think
I do. And I try to tell clients, the ones that will listen, okay, that listen. And I don't ever say you're not my only client, because I think that's a little rude to come off like that. Yeah. But then I'll just say that sometimes I was helping someone else. And so to me, family law is so important. I can't be working on your case and then taking somebody else's call or getting on a Zoom with somebody else when I have to focus on something, particularly if we're doing something that's written. As you know, we lawyers have to write a lot, got to write a lot of motions and briefs and stuff, got to look up a lot of the law, and it has to be on point and it has to be exact pertaining to your specific facts. And I have to focus. And so that means that, hey, that's why I have a paralegal. That's why I have an associate attorney. That's why I have these other people. But you only want to talk to me.
That's it.
So
who am I talking to?
Yeah.
I'm talking to, I don't know you. Where Miss Tanya at?
Yeah. So, so sometimes, and I know that's hard because it is an emotional roller coaster. And I do a lot what I call emotional hand holding, because you need that, because you think that if I do this, then she will do that. And it doesn't work that way. And so an agreement requires both sides. And even on the smallest of issues, as you know.
Had you ever been in a case like mine? Or is that normal?
All the time.
I was all the time. Okay.
All the time.
Yeah, because you didn't seem surprised.
No, I wasn't.
Yeah.
You were surprised, but I wasn't.
So surprised.
In fact, remember you would say stuff and I would just finish your sentence.
Yes.
And it's not because I knew personally, but it's human nature. And it's the same in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
And so when someone's angry and they want to feel vindicated, it's like they almost want to cut off their nose and then spite their face at the same time. I want to hurt you, but I want you to give me all this money.
Mhm.
I want to destroy any way you got to earn income, but I still want you to pay me.
Yeah. So there is no right way to do divorce, but if there was a right way to go through the process,
Yes.
what would be the right way to go about it?
Oh, many, many steps. One of the things you should do is always keep good records. So as we know, text messages are good evidence. And so when you're giving your attorney text messages, you need to first of all, you got to make sure that you give the attorney the text message and don't get mad and delete it. That's good evidence. Make sure that the attorney knows the date, who's on the text, because sometimes there are group text messages. So the attorney needs to date who all is on there. Same thing with emails, same receipts. In Georgia, only one side needs to know that a recording is being made. So, recordings are going to pop up in court that we didn't know, was being recorded.
Mm-hmm.
And so to the extent that you got a recording, an audio recording, a video recording, a photograph, any kind of evidence, documents to substantiate the words that you're saying, and then witnesses too. So just keep in mind, if we just get to court and it's just you talking and her talking, it's your word versus her word.
Mm-hmm.
We need something to substantiate. I'd like to substantiate every word that's coming out of your mouth. And so if you said you paid something, I want the receipt. If you said you had this conversation, I want the text messages. If you said you took the kids here and they had a great time, I want the photographs. I want the videos. And so you just have to be able to prove your case. And when you want to be like a very active dad, you got to show that you've had a history of that even before the divorce was filed, which was no problem for you because you really were that dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember telling my accountability partners, I was like, this is like the weirdest thing ever. Like, I'm always taking pictures of my children, but I just got so mad. I'm like, I'm not taking no more pictures of my children. I'm not doing this. I can't do this. And then I had to remember, like, this is a case. This ain't even like life. This is like business almost.
It is. And sometimes you have to treat it like a business relationship or a business transaction, or how you sometimes may have to do business with someone you may not necessarily like, but you have to finish the transaction.
Yeah.
And so we had a goal.
Yeah.
And so we had to take the steps to get to that goal.
Yeah.
And so, and you know how I am. I always have we're going to do it's almost like an if then else clause for anybody who programs, right?
Yeah.
If this happens, we're going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Else we're going to do that. If not, then we're going to do this. and we always had, 3-4 things that we were going to do.
I was so scared. I just want to tell you just how scared I was. Not necessarily for stuff to be lost.
Right.
It was just all about my children. I was just so scared. I'm teary-eyed right now just thinking
it is scary.
Even this all the stuff was oh my God, what is this going to do to my children? Because I believe everybody going to have a testimony.
Mm-hmm.
And I just did not want my children to have this testimony. And now I'm trying to fight in my head, okay, so how can we make this better? And then finally, after everything was said and done, I just surrendered whatever that testimony was. And I was just like, you know what? Whatever come next going to be better than what was.
Well, like I told you, you don't really have to figure out what to say if you just tell the truth.
Yeah.
And so here's the most important point I try to tell clients. Judges do not expect perfect people.
Mm.
They just want you to tell the truth.
Yeah.
And if you tell the truth, you don't have to remember what it was, unless maybe you don't remember all the details, but just tell the truth.
Yeah.
And if you're truly who it is, a lot of these judges can figure it out. In fact, your judge was my divorce judge. Remember?
Yeah, I was gonna say that was the next. So we're in here, and they introduced it. It's like Perry Mason, bro. I ain't never been in the courtroom with a judge sitting up high and the stand right here. I was like, oh my God. Maybe I've only been to a small courtroom. And so I'm looking, and she was like, hey, that was the judge that did my case. I was like, what? Really? And she told him that too. And I was just like, oh,
I know he didn't remember.
Yeah, no. He has seen so many cases. He's OG too.
Yeah.
He was definitely OG. So you walked through divorce. What made you get into family law? Was it after your divorce or before?
No, I started off, I wanted to be, I started off as an entertainment lawyer, but I worked for an attorney who did family law. So when I tell you I never wanted to do family law, I never took a course. Mm-hmm. I never went to a CLE, but I worked for a lawyer. He said, I don't know what entertainment law was. This is back in 1992, but you can do it as long as you help me with these cases. And so I'm helping him with his cases, and I kind of get, pretty good. I mean, he took me to court twice and then just pushed me out. Just go. And so at the time, because I'm doing entertainment law and I'm working mostly with men, and they found out about it, I started working with like celebrity men in family law in 1996. So it was fairly early. Yeah. What made it kind of interesting is that, particularly in music, because I understood royalties and publishing and things like that and how they get paid. So a lot of the entertainment industry people would come to me because I can explain and I can articulate, how they get paid in the chunks, or, your publisher's only going to come either twice a year, 4 times a year, depending on who your performing rights organization is and stuff like that. So if you do a good job for people, the word just spreads. And so I've been blessed in that regard. Yeah,
I remember when I thought about it, you were the first person. It was like, it's like this man alliance, the underground man alliance. Well, if you want a lawyer, you're probably going to need Tanya. Yeah. And I was like, I don't really need Tanya because, everything's going to be fine, right? Like, I'm a great guy. I'm just thinking that.
Oh, yeah. So you did fire me.
You weren't supposed to tell all them people that.
You did.
So,
and then you had to come back.
I did have to come back. But this is what I'm saying. We on camera right now. You ain't got to tell these people what done happened.
But no, that goes into just the whole emotional mindset that you were in at the time. I could tell that the wheels were falling off.
Yeah.
Especially after we made a very good effort to try to get everything done. Yeah. And the judge in the mediation, though, we really, really tried. We had a hearing. We really tried to just, cut things off. And then, but the mediation was stressful. I took a drink, and you were like, I don't know what happened.
I'll tell you.
Tell me what happened. I want to know that.
More Love You More podcast after this.
Hey family, I'm on TV. Tune into Truth Talks on Fox Soul Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you tune in. Flat out. Love you more. During that time, I was so emotionally unstable. And I just I started looking at them numbers, and I'm just like, I can't keep pushing this much out. Because when you're taking care of this house, staff members, my house, elderly parents, private school, and my own personal lifestyle, and I was looking at them invoices hitting the way they were.
Every month.
I said, every month. I said, you know what we're going to do? We can't do this because surely whatever they going to take is going to be less than, because it took Georgia like years. And like if you go to court, you might not get another one for 8 more months.
That's right.
So I was like, man, this ain't going to make sense. So I said, all right, I'm going to just do it myself like I do everything. And I said, if I just get a little wing person who a lawyer who might be a little bit more affordable, I can coach her into what's going on. I know this sounds crazy as hell, but this is what I'm thinking. I told you I was a little out of my mind. I'm like, hell, I wanted to be a lawyer in school anyway. I done watched Perry Mason there since I was 10 years old.
I know I make it look easy, but it's not.
No, it's not. So I was like, man, I can send some emails. And as long as she know how to talk lawyer, then we good. And we went up there to that next court situation. And I ain't say the name of the lawyer, so y'all can't sue me at all. She was in there so timid. I think she was so nervous that she might have pulled it a little bit because I smelled something when she got up, child. And I said, this one's scared. I said, she's scared. By this time, I'd have been to court 3 times, so I'm no longer nervous about nothing that has to do with court, no shaking. They must have called my name. She didn't say nothing. They was like, Moore versus Moore. And I was just like, hey, that's us. And she was kind of rambling, and he was about to go to the next thing. I stood up. I said, sir, that's me. That's me. That's me. And no, I said, ma'am, that's me. She said, well, we've been through this a few times and such and such here. And I was like, no, she's not here. But we just I've been coming here for a long. She said, yeah, I see you been coming. I ain't let the lawyer talk because she wasn't talking right. And I said, we've been coming here for a long time. I just need a final date. Because you told me that you weren't going to do none. Notice I'm looking up because the judge thing right up there. And I said, you told me that you wanted to not make any changes to anything until final date. And I've been doing this for 2.5, almost 3 years.
Yeah.
I need something.
Mm-hmm.
She said, does whatever date it was, October such and such, I said, sold. And the whole courtroom started laughing. She said, you're quite the jokester, Mr. Moore. And I was like, no, I'm serious. It's been 3 years. Everybody's in there laughing. I got right out of that car and I told that lady, I said, we gonna need help. We gonna need help. And I know who gonna help us. I'm not gonna fire you, but I'm gonna see if we gonna get some help. She's like, no, I got it. I was like, you ain't got it. You ain't got it. So I called Tanya and I was like, Tanya, we gonna need some help. Listen, I don't know if you'll take me, but I need you. And she's like, it's fine. I'm gonna just call this person and let her know that I'm gonna help with this, and another. The Friday before the Monday, the lawyer quit. She quit.
She did.
Because she told me, she was like, well, I don't know. And she's like, it's evident that you don't want me this. I was like, nah, I'm just trying to build team. I don't really do good with that. But my friend, shout out to my brother Ross Servant, he said, you got to make whatever decision's best for you because this is forever. And I was like, shout out to my Cubana, my Cuban brother.
Yes.
I listened to him.
Yeah.
Tanya said, yes, she filed the papers. I said, Tanya, I don't know what we're going to do. She said, well, do this, and this. And I had to stay up Friday, Saturday. Shout out to your paralegal or whoever she was. She's a beautiful girl.
Yeah, Alicia.
Alicia was amazing. We sat down there Saturday. I had to go through all that stuff. And for the first time when we went to that court, I think it was like Monday or Tuesday, that was not Tanya. That was the Lord. But I don't wish that on my enemy. And so my reason was I was looking at the numbers and I was talking to my accountant and she was just like, well, we're going to have to cut this, and this. And I wasn't going to cut like children or parents or going up there. And I was just like, okay, I gotta make that decision. And then I'm gonna turn into Perry Mason. I had a good idea. It just wasn't the best.
It just wasn't the best, you know. Yeah. But you know, a lot of people think that they could go in the family court and just talk about it and come up with a solution. And that's not what it is. It's
no
court.
way you can.
You've got to know the rules of civil procedure. You've got to know the rules of evidence. You've got to know the case law. You've got to know the process. You got to have cross and direct. You've got to have your exhibits prepared. You got to be able to listen innately and figure out how I can cross this person up. You got to read line by line on the financial documents and rip their heart out while they're on the stand where they can't even lie about it. It's so cold. Was it not?
My mouth dropped like this right here. I was like, because it wasn't well, you know, it wasn't Tanya, it was Tanya the lawyer. And I was like, and she was like, I was like, you better get him. And I mean, like, guys, I'm telling you, it was exhibits all the way up. It was like she had a big cart worth of stuff.
Two. Remember?
Yeah, two big carts. I was like, what is that? These are exhibits. I was like, what are we doing? And it was just a real case. And here's the thing, and I just want to say this, and I'm not being mean to people because I know Christian people who are like me, you be like, I'm just going to trust the Lord, and I want you to keep trusting the Lord. Mm-hmm. But when you are going through a divorce, this is just business. The person that you love is just no longer there. And a part of you, I won't just blame her, like a part of me, I wasn't there.
Right.
Like this was just X's and O's, and you're just trying to do the best for your children and make sure that your finances can be intact the way that they should fairly. So.
Yeah, but I want to tell you that when I have cases with children, I pray over my cases, right? Mm-hmm. And I really pray that God's will be done and that God really just touches the judge to see, you know, what is going to be the right decision for these children.
Yep.
Because sometimes people can lie in the most convincing manner and the judge may not even recognize that everything they just said is not true, you know? And so I do pray over the cases. And a lot of times when I have like these legal epiphanies, I really feel like it's God giving me the opportunity to shed light on something. For instance, in your case, there was something that you had given me in the Google Drive maybe 2 years before. Mm-hmm. At 3 or 4 in the morning before the last, how many days was our trial?
That's 3 days, 2 or 3 days.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
3 days,
Might have been 3 days.
3 days, yeah.
But before the last day, I had really just prayed over your case, and God woke me up and told me exactly where to look for like one document out of hundreds.
That changed everything.
I woke right up. God led me right to it. And that changed the whole trajectory of the thing. I mean, I feel like we still were going to do well, but we did very well.
Mm-hmm.
We did, we were going to do well, but we did very well because God just led me to something for you.
Yeah.
And I can't even take the credit for that because it's not something that even crossed my mind Friday, Saturday, or Sunday when I was prepared.
Right.
Monday, whatever, But we got it all together in a weekend.
In a weekend. It was a weekend. That woman quit.
Because, I was off your case, about 6 months?
Yeah, 6, 7 months.
Yeah, about 6 months, yeah.
So after divorce,
Mm-hmm.
what are some things that you've seen that have been healthy for people afterwards? Is it stick to the script that the judge gave, or do you have to stick to the parenting plan? Like, what do you see best for couples with children?
Well, definitely with children. If there was a lot of acrimony in the divorce, I think co-parent counseling helps because the children love both of you, right? No matter how bad she thinks he is or how bad he thinks she is, the children love both of you equally, probably. And so it's important for you to understand, listen, don't say anything negative about her. She shouldn't say anything negative about you in the presence of the children or even allow anyone to do so. When you do have to see each other, be cordial, be pleasant. And if you find that hard, that's why I say the co-parent counseling. And even though there is a document that says, okay, you've got this day, you've got this week, you've got this holiday, it's always better for the children if the parents can get to a place where they have healed enough to do what's best for the children. So sometimes that might not be the first and third and fifth weekend. That might be, okay, well, I'm doing this, and so I want my dad here. Or mom's having a party for me, so, Dad, I'm not coming because mom's doing this. And the parents have to be able to work together to do what's in the best interest of the children. Yeah. And so, but some people can't get there. They're still hurt. Sometimes it takes some people longer than others to heal.
Yeah.
And so if you have a person that just doesn't seem to be able to heal, then you got to follow that agreement or that document, the parenting plan or the court order or the child support addendum to the letter. Yeah. Because if you don't, you can end up in court for contempt. Yeah. As you know.
Yeah. It's a whole, luckily I haven't had to, do it, but it was.
No,
it was
you haven't, but I'm on standby.
Yeah. It's a lot. It is definitely a lot.
I'm on standby.
How much does divorce cost?
Oh, my Jesus. What?
Like, how much does a divorce typically cost for a person?
Well, nobody's going to get one when I tell them.
Come on, because
is there a camera I can look into?
This one right here.
This one right here?
Is it this one? Point to this one.
Right here.
Yeah.
Divorce is expensive. So exhaust all your options before you ultimately decide. But listen, a retainer for a contested divorce can be anywhere from $15,000 to $25,000, right? Depending on how long it lasts. If it's about an eight-month divorce, you might end up spending about $50,000. If you're going into the years, you're going to spend 6 figures. And that first number may not be a 1 if we're fighting. If we've got assets and debts and children, the most expensive divorces are where people are fighting over custody or people are fighting over a lot of assets or both. But the most expensive thing I would say is a custody battle.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that just took all the air out the room just then. I'm going to have to hit a bell or something. Everybody's like, woo, Lord.
Yes.
So when you see these bills piling up, I mean, of course not you, but I'm speaking to the people in the camera. Like, when you see these bills piling up, you really want to make sure that that's what you want to do and that this is what you led to do.
Yes.
Because, when you start seeing it's just like, man, it just would be easier. But for a person who just knows that maybe God has something else. You know, like a lot of people don't like to put God in it. But I remember sitting down with Latarius R. Whitfield, and he said, God, give me the grace to handle this divorce.
Right.
And I just remember sitting there with, you know, with a bottle of my favorite tequila, with pineapple, and I was sitting on the thing, and I was just like, man, why am I doing this so much? And it's like, because you're nervous. And you got a whole lot of weight on you. And it's like, well, who's there for you? And I was just like, well, nobody's there for me. And you will be at your lowest point.
Right. Well, you know, by the time, when your divorce lasts a long time, by the time we get to the final, nobody's talking to you. Yeah. Your family is tired of hearing about it. Your friends don't want to hear about it anymore. People who were initially in your corner, they're just like, call me when it's over. And so you really only have your lawyer. Maybe a witness or two, but really it gets lonely. The longer that divorce goes, the lonelier it gets and the harder it gets. Because you want to be, you want to be out here fun loving, doing the things that you do, but privately you're suffering. You can't see your kids when you want to see them, or your money's tied up because you got to pay for 2 households. Or it's the first of the month and you just got this big legal bill for that hearing. So, sometimes the bills they're okay. But when you have a hearing or a mediation then the bill after that, that's a rough.
You be looking at that clock like, come on, man, we don't need to be doing all this fun stuff. That bill clicking. And it's electric now, y'all. It ain't like she looking at the clock. She hit a button. Boom. And that button keep on going till you finish. Boom. But you were nice. You told me, hey, it's time for lunch. I'm going to stop your clock. I said, thank you, Jesus. She stopped my clock. When she said stop my clock, now all this, I love her to life. But then there's business that we got to do what we got to do. And so I just want to let you know. Now, listen, this is not a plea for people to go get divorced. It's not that. This is, I want you to know some of the facts of what the divorce process looks like, in hopes not to just, I want not to really just scare you, but to say, hey, man, you might want to consider, thinking about this before you go through. And some of you like, well, I ain't really got nothing and this what it is. Well, I'm going to let you know, when you start splitting up what you thought you didn't have, you start realizing, man, I had a little bit more than what I thought. And I just want to make sure that you understand this. And of course, this is a hard topic, especially when it comes to Christian people and people who just love God and just believe God can do anything. And I believe that he can do anything. However, sometimes his anything is not in the scope of which you believe things are supposed to, the way it's supposed to happen, but it ends well, right? Anything that I missed out on that I think that people need to know?
Let me just explain the process with a contested divorce. So one person is the petitioner. That's the person filing. They file a complaint for divorce. That complaint for divorce is either served on the other person or the person will acknowledge service. Once that happens, either they're served or they acknowledge service, that person has 30 days to file an answer and counterclaim. Once that answer and counterclaim is filed, there's 6 months to do discovery. Discovery is where you basically exchange your financial documents and any other evidence that you plan to use in court. Typically, that 6 months is going to stretch to 8 to 12 to 16. It may stretch, particularly if somebody won't turn over the documents or they don't have all the documents or something. Usually, once the documents have been exchanged and both attorneys believe that they have sufficient information, then you go to mediation. Mediation, you should prepare for mediation. You should prepare what you can live with, what you're willing to offer. You go in good faith. Unfortunately, and there's 3 possibilities at mediation. You can come up with a full agreement. Hallelujah. It's over. Just draft the paperwork. You can come up with a partial agreement. Okay, we agree on some things. We don't on others. Or you can have an impasse where we don't agree on anything. But even when a mediation there's no agreement. There's an impasse. We've learned a lot. We've learned exactly what the other side wants. We've learned what you're willing to do. There's no wasted time, even though you don't come up with an agreement. And then even after mediation and there's an impasse, when there's a court date, there's still another few percentages of cases that settle before you even get to the final trial. Some people settle after they've done all that prep right there on the morning of court. And you're going to get a big bill and you didn't even have the trial. And then you have the trial. The trial is hard. And If you can avoid the trial, if you got to go through this process, if you do, try to get it resolved without trial, because trial is war.
Trial is war.
Was it not?
Trial is war. You leave there like you just got beat up by 40 different people.
And there's no winners.
And there's no winners.
Even if you get most of what you want or half of what you want or none of what you want, there's no winner, because now there's a family that has to live in 2 different households. And so you've just got to, through grace, figure out how to make that work, especially for the children.
Yeah. Well, transparent moment, marriage was my goal, and I don't know if I ever said that publicly, but I always just wanted to be married. I always wanted to have a family. I always wanted to be a great father. I grew up watching the Cosby Show. And although I did not want to be a doctor because the sight of blood and the smell of it, I had to go to dialysis 3 times a week. You could smell blood when you walk in dialysis. I'd be like, Mom, I ain't gonna be in here long. I don't like blood. So I know I'm not gonna be Cliff Huxtable, but I was gonna be a rendition of, because he was educated, so I wanted to go to school. He showed up for his family, so I wanted to show up. And then, of course, my dad, great man, love you to life, 92 years young, worked 2 jobs. He was a custodial worker. He cleaned up, he worked in housekeeping at Barnes Hospital. He cleaned up at Kirkwood, and he did what he had to do. However, he worked 16 hours a day. And so there were some things that he couldn't make, because he was making the bacon to make sure that we had a roof over our heads so we can eat. And of course, Mama did, really one hell of a job. She's my best friend today. But I just knew that I wanted something remotely different. And so as I look back on this process, I was 26 years old and I was ready to just go for it. I didn't necessarily know my calling. I knew I had a little money from being Pretty Willie. I didn't know that I was going to do ministry. And, I was adopted. And I made a lot of wrong choices inside of my marriage, not just with other people, although that did happen, right? But just on how to lead a family. I'm a visionary. And sometimes I get out in that water way before God wants me to. And a lot of times I drug my family along, with me. And that put a lot of different hurt and scars on them, because, we went through foreclosure. We went through a lot of different things, because once I see a dream and a vision, I'm going that way. I'm a lot more calm now, but I just see on the back end side of all of the things that I could have done a whole lot better. And so here's the thing. Before you go run your little happy tail to divorce court because you all are having some unique debacles at home and it's consistent, never forget this part. At the finish line of a divorce, when you're about to go into that courtroom or when you're about to go to that mediation, I don't remember anything that she did. The Lord only showed me. And he showed me everything that I tried to do that didn't go right. He showed me, things that I shouldn't have been doing while I was married. And he showed me all of that. And then when I walk in that courtroom, the question became can you live with yourself with this decision? And I had to look back and say, I did counseling for 2 years before. I did a year of separation, still had friends, let's just be real. And then I filed, and then I moved forward with my life. So I did everything emotionally, mentally, and spiritually that I thought that I should do, so I can look my children in the face when they get older and say, Daddy did everything that he could do to try to make it work. And if you can't do that, if you just on some emotional wave, don't do it. It's stupid. Like, if I couldn't look myself in the face and be like, yo, I did everything that I could. I had some shortcomings along the way, but I did everything that I could. If I couldn't look myself in the face, this version of me would not exist. I cannot be this transparent. And so if you can't be this transparent about what you're doing, how you're doing it, and you just making an emotional decision, bro, just stay where you at. Man, just stay where you are. Because you don't want to put your family legacy name in jeopardy just because you're making an emotional decision. But if you've done the work and it doesn't work, and God has graced you in this moment, enjoy the journey. Love yourself more. Flat out.
Love you more, love you more, love you more.